Hi everybody, it's Fraser. Today we are going to be looking at causatives. So what are causatives? Causatives are when someone causes someone else to do something for the first person. Let's look at an example. I washed my car. I do the action. This is different from how we would express it in English when we say, I had my car washed. Now I could say, the car wash washed my car, but instead I want to give the full meaning, which is the car wash washed my car because I paid them to do it. Now it's much shorter, much more compact to just say, I had my car washed. And by putting it this way, everyone in English is going to know that I was the one who requested the action, and I accomplished this through another means. So we use causatives to explain that you didn't do something yourself. So I didn't do the work myself. I didn't wash the car, but somebody else did. Now, the subject may have paid, asked, or persuaded the other person to perform the action, given permission to another person, or directed someone to do something. And we're going to indicate this using different verbs. So let's look at them. So, have is a causative. So we had the example, I had my car washed. Now, just to point out, this is somewhat similar to using a passive sentence. My car was washed. In neither case are you saying who did the action. So the key point, kind of in both of these situations, is that my car is now clean. We're not focusing on who did the cleaning of the car. The structure is have plus the object plus the past participle. Have something done. Now, when we pay someone to do something for us, like washing the car, we typically say, have something done. So this is often used for services. The form is subject plus have plus object plus past participle. I had my watch fixed. Louis will have his grapes picked next week. Now, sometimes the person who actually does the action is important. In this case, we use the construction subject plus have plus person plus verb. So, I had the shopkeeper wrap the gift. The manager will have the accounting department call the customers. The teacher had the students read the article aloud in front of the class. All right, let's look at another causative. This is get. So we use get plus object plus past participle to get something done. This will often have the same meaning as have, but it's less formal. Some example sentences. The students get their theses printed at the copy shop. He'll get his hair cut next week. Guido got his washing machine fixed last week. Similarly, we use the construction get plus someone plus the infinitive, which is to plus the verb. Sometimes this means that we needed to convince someone to do something that they didn't want to do. Some examples. Greta gets her daughter to clean her room by promising her ice cream when she's finished doing it. I got the cleaner to dust on top of the bookshelves. All right, let's look at the causative let. Now, let is primarily used to indicate giving permission for someone else to do something. The form is subject plus let plus object plus the verb. A couple of examples. David's mother let him use her car. Our boss let us leave early on Friday because it was a long weekend. We can also use let to mean allow in the sense of making something possible. This student card lets you book discount flights during school break. You can buy a pass which lets you visit all the art galleries for €1. Let's plus a verb is often used to make a suggestion. Let's go to the cinema tonight. Let's get some coffee. Now notice this is always contracted. We never use let us. All right, next causative is make. The form will be subject plus make plus object plus verb. And make can mean to force someone to do something that he or she doesn't want to do. And this is either through persuasion or obligation. A couple of example sentences. His mother made him clean his room even though he was late for the film. The statistics teacher made us study 45 pages of the textbook on the weekend. It can also be used to mean to cause someone to do something. This can be either good or bad. Examples: that film made me cry. My brother often makes me laugh. If we use make in the passive, we use the infinitive, which is the verb with to, instead of the plain verb. An example sentence: the company was made to sell a 20% share to an American technology company to avoid a block on distribution through Apple and Google's app stores. We can also use subject plus make plus object plus adjective. This means to cause the object to be the adjective. Two examples. Her story made me really happy. The traffic jam made us late. We use let when we mean allow. It's usually something the person wants to do. My boss let me leave early. In this case, I wanted to leave early and the boss gave me permission. We use make when we mean force or cause. It's often something that the person doesn't want to do. My boss made me stay late. I didn't want to stay, but I had to. I was obligated. All right, so let's see if you can use these correctly. In this first section, you'll be changing the sentences so that they use the structure have someone do something or get someone to do something. You're going to start each of these with I. Okay, let's look at the first example. The painter painted the 2 accent walls red. How are you going to change this to use the causative have, beginning the sentence with I? All right, think about that. I had the painter paint the 2 accent walls red. Okay, next example. The taxi driver picked us up in front of the hotel. Again, we're going to use have. We're going to start the sentence with I. How are you going to do it? Got it? I had the taxi driver pick us up in front of the hotel. Next example. Michele arrived right on time for once. Now we're going to use get. Think about how you're going to construct that sentence. Okay? I got Michele to arrive right on time for once. Next example. The mechanic fixed the broken headlight. Now, I'm not telling you which one to use. Do you think it makes a difference? I had the mechanic fix the broken headlight. Yes, it makes a difference because in this case, you're going to take your car to the mechanic, and what are you going to have to do? You're going to have to pay. So remember that usually when it is a paid transaction, we will use have. All right, next example. The teacher explained the lesson to the students in much more detail. All right, now we're going to start this off with I. Think about it. How are you going to form it? I got the teacher to explain the lesson to the students in much more detail. Now notice, if we used had here, the implication would be that I am a higher authority than the teacher and that I gave a directive to explain the lesson in much more detail. Is that clear? All right, next example. My husband looked after the kids. How are we going to change this? We're going to begin this sentence with I. It's going to be, I got my husband to look after the kids. Make sense? It's about convincing the other person. Next example. The waiter brought us a nice bottle of Lambrusco. Now we want a sentence that begins with I. What's that going to be? I had the waiter bring us a nice bottle of Lambrusco. We're in a restaurant. We're going to be paying for all of the things that we consume. So it's a money transaction. And so therefore we're going to use have. Next example. The cashier took your payment before the other customers. Make a sentence beginning with I. Think about it. What are you going to say? Okay, here, I got the cashier to take your payment before the other customers. Now, you may say, oh, but wait, this is a cashier. This is taking money, so this should be have. But the cashier is taking money from all of the other customers. So in this case, there's probably something else that maybe you said, oh, I need to, I'm going to the airport and I don't have much time to make it to the plane. Can you take me in front of the other people? But it's not paying extra, probably. Possibly it could be, but ordinarily it would not be paying extra in this situation. Just to point out that there are kind of some nuances and shades to this. All right, next example. The students protested against climate change. Okay, sentence starting with I got the students to protest against climate change. Next example. My friends went to bed early because we had to be up early to go to the airport. Sentence beginning with I had my friends go to bed early because we had to be up early to go to the airport. It also could be, I got my friends to go to bed early because we had to be up early to go to the airport. Both of those could be correct. It just depends a little bit on the exact circumstances. Probably if you were a little more persuasive, you would use got, and if you were a little more directive, you would use have. Next example. His aunt watched my favorite film so that we could discuss it all together. Sentence beginning with I. I got his aunt to watch my favorite film so that we could discuss it all together. Okay. Next example, my friend took her car because it was important that we could leave the restaurant early if my sister went into labor. All right, sentence beginning with I will be, I had my friend take her car because it was important that we could leave the restaurant early if my sister went into labor. Here again, it's going to be a little more directive, a little stronger, so we'll use had. Okay, now let's look at our other two causatives that we learned. In these, we're going to choose either let or make in the following sentences. First example, the boss often us work late. Do we want to work late? No, the boss often makes us work late. Next example, the teacher doesn't his students use their dictionaries in class. What's it going to be? It's going to be let, because it's giving permission. So the teacher doesn't allow his students to use their dictionaries in class. The teacher doesn't let his students use their dictionaries in class. Next example, when people are late, me really annoyed. What are we going to use here? When people are late, it makes me really annoyed. The boss sometimes us leave work early. Correct answer. The boss sometimes lets us leave work early, gives us permission to. Next one. Lucy might you borrow her laptop if you need it for the presentation. What's it going to be here? Again, she's giving permission. Lucy might let you borrow her laptop if you need it for the presentation. Next example. Julie's father doesn't her use his car. Again, permission. Julie's father doesn't let her use his car. Next example. John's mother used to him clean up the garage every Sunday. What's it going to be? John's mother used to make him clean up the garage every Sunday. Next example. My mother never me stay out late when I was young. Here we are. The mom is giving permission. So, my mother never let me stay out late when I was young. Makes sense? Next example. Joan's new job has her very happy. Her new job has made her very happy. Next one. My current job, me work wherever I want. This will be the sense of to allow. My current job lets me work wherever I want. Robert doesn't his children watch TV. The logical answer here, Robert doesn't let his children watch TV. Make sense? All right, next example. That film, me cry like a baby. It was so sad. This happens to me all the time. I cry at films. And so that film made me cry like a baby. It was so sad. All right, hope you understand all of our uses of causatives really well. If you don't, where are you going to go? Pinterest, pinterest.com/unblockyourenglish. You will find a whole section there on causatives and using make and do. And it's a great resource. So if you haven't been over there, head on over there. All right, and practice every day.